what I wanted to do was help you review your year in 2023 amongst the special framework that I've created that helps you understand, organize, and optimize every area of your life. And especially the biggest thing that comes to me when I do these things with my friends is that every time we've been doing these reflections, I give my friends a week to give me all of the achievements they had throughout the year. And you've actually had the most amount of achievements. The average of my friends was about 8 to 10 throughout the whole year, and I gave them a whole week, and I gave them the framework to be like, oh yeah, these are all the different areas of life that you can have achievements in. They're really big or they're really small. And again, 8 to 10 was the max, and you had 16. And actually, I want to see what we got in the end. Yeah, we went from 16 to 50. I can see the countdown.
I was wondering. I was like, man, it's almost one a week. Like that, putting it in this framework is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, actually.
And the fact that I always said this, like, we have 52 weeks in a year, and you're telling me you've only done 8 to 10 things. No way.
Yeah. Cool.
No way.
Cool.
And I think the reason why I love doing this so much is that there's so, like, all of the friends I surround myself with, I intend to because they are amazing.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's almost a crime in a way that they don't give themselves the credit for all the amazing things that they've done. And this is why I based the system on game design instead of productivity.
Yeah.
Business-focused productivity. Because business-focused productivity would never give a fuck about any of these things. Right. Whereas a game designer would love to give you so much feedback and enjoyment out of putting these things into the system. So the first thing I wanted to do is go over the distribution you had over the whole special framework in general. What you did throughout the year in terms of every area of life. And I scroll down, and that really shows the abundance and I guess the gaps in where your focus in life is. And the intention with this is not to say, oh, you're not intelligent or you don't contribute enough. It's to be like, we have a finite amount of time and energy that we can spend. We have different seasons of life, especially within years, in the fact that the framework for me in terms of focusing on different aspects of special is going to be completely different to you.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you, oh, actually, you should have focused more on LifeForce. Actually, you should have focused more on strength. You will intuitively know, based on looking at this distribution, whether you are proud of where that distribution landed or whether you have some doubts or something you would like to add or whatever. And it's a really intuitive way because the way I design this is that throughout the year, you would basically put these in, your project manager or whatever. And then at the end of the year, instead of writing out a whole list of everything you've done, you've already got it there. And you don't have to go through a bland PDF in the reflection question sheet and be like, oh, so what did you do that was productive this year? Oh, what did, all of those things. Yeah. You literally have it in a board and you can see and intuitively feel what you've thought of your time and energy and your most fulfilling memories being spent in each different area of life. So yeah, I guess that's the first thing. Do you feel like it aligns, this distribution, do you feel like it aligns with your intention that you had for the year?
It doesn't align with what I thought the year was going to be, but reflecting on like what was actually valuable during the year and what the themes of the year like truly were and what became important to me through it, that's exactly what it was. Like, lots of things to do with attachment and quite a few things to do with experience, and creativity is like almost always going to be a big thing. I'd be really surprised if it wasn't. But at the start of the year, I thought I was like, I wrote these goals that were like, I want to put on like 10 kilos of muscle and I want to, I don't know, heal all my injuries and
did the same.
Like like earn $100,000, and it's like cool, like great. But I basically wrote this goal list that it was like, okay, if every single thing went right, like there was no room for a sick day, and I didn't actually want those things. I didn't really want 10 kilos of muscle on my body.
Yeah.
I just thought it would be kind of a cool thing to do and to train that hard. And what became apparent was like, oh, there are much more important things under the surface that came up just due to the things that I don't have control over, like the people that come into my life surprisingly, and the revelations that come out of nowhere and go like, oh, this is what's important. Like, you don't care about big muscles, you care about, like my elbows are fucked. I gotta heal my elbows, man. Like that's way more important than big biceps. Just because structurally you can't have big biceps if your elbows are fucked. It's not gonna work.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking at this is like, yeah, that was my year, and it's really cool to look at it like that.
Damn, dude. And is there anything that you feel like you wish you had more of or actually less of and put more into a different area?
Can you just define the persistence one for me? Like what's
So again, persistence is about, again, like lifestyle routines. So literally just having habits that you stick to. For me, that looks like doing cold showers. So there'd be the separation of the health benefits that I get from cold showers and strength, and then the habit of actually showing up and being persistent about the act of doing it.
Right.
But also possessions you have. So like we said, like you put in, like setting up your ice bath for your home, the candles and getting headphones and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think that's the only area that I'm at the moment I'm kind of moving into more and going, because a lot of my life as a gigging actor, I've tried to set myself up so that I can move around easily and not have this home base. But the things that have become apparent is that I really value a home base. Like I really benefit from having this like place where I can go and feel at home, and people, like a close-knit group of people instead of being this little nomad. Like I really value family and connections and a home. And it's like, oh, well, fuck, like that's, realizing that through all those attachment things is then pushing me into the persistence things, going like, okay, so what is it daily that really, really makes me feel good? And like having scented candles in my room, like fight me, but I'm having scented candles in my room. It makes me feel so good.
Exactly.
Light a scented candle and do a meditation in the morning and evening. It's like,
totally,
oh, man, that's great. And then I'm like, what else is it that is just slightly inconvenient in my life that I could make way better?
Yes.
By just little things. Like Natalie got me a non-stick pan.
Yeah.
I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
This really kind of made my life a lot better.
Yeah,
this
that's
one
totally a persistence thing.
Yeah, so that's where I'm looking at now is like, oh, I can actually just make my life a bit better with really simple things. It's not about like going and buying or doing the craziest things. It's about, I got a non-stick pan. I can make omelets now.
Yeah.
Like, omelets are great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's the only thing. Everything else looks pretty good.
Got you, man. Yeah, I think persistence is, that area of life is something that a lot of people I do this with don't really understand at the start. But you literally explained it perfectly. It's
cool.
Pretty much encapsulating the trope of Atomic Habits. And I made a set of cornerstone books. I call them cornerstone books because they are the books that describe and educate you on all these different areas of life. And one thing that you really touched on that I loved is that you understand that if you put effort and energy into raising one of these attributes of life, they flow into all the others.
Yep.
And so what I did is that at the start of generating this framework, I intended it just to be a database for information of all the areas of life. But I found that it grew into, actually, these are all the areas of life that we can find fulfillment in.
Right.
And they also flow into each other. So they're separated into elevating attributes and essential attributes. And that's in terms of fulfillment. So everything that is essential to our fulfillment, that's more like the things you have, like strength, which is your physical health, life force, mental health, attachment, your closest relationships, and contribution, which is either work or charity. And so all of those things are absolutely essential to human fulfillment. We can ignore all of the other categories.
Yeah.
But if we want a more fulfilling life, we incorporate elevating attributes that literally elevate the level of fulfillment that we can get from all the other areas.
Yeah.
And they all both have elevating and essential attributes to each other, but the essentials are far more essential than the elevating. And the elevating elevate far more than the essentials.
Yeah, okay, I understand. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So something as simple as like, getting a non-stick pan helps you make omelets that contribute
right.
to things like your strength, your physical health,
Yeah.
taking care of yourself and stuff like that. And scented candles, your peace of mind, your life force,
Yeah.
simple things like that. So
Yeah, cool.
this is more than a system just to be like, oh, this is a thing in my life. It's the framework I use to understand life itself and how every action I do will contribute to a different level of fulfillment in all the different areas of life. And so that's where we get into ranking
Yeah.
your most fulfilling memories, because again, all of these different areas of life are going to mean different things to us personally and in different seasons of our life.
Yeah.
Because imagine the time when you become a father. Attachment is going to be
Yeah.
a core
Yeah.
part of your fulfillment,
Yeah.
right? But at this time, that's not there,
Yeah.
But you've got your relationship, you've got your family. So these things merge and mold over time.
Yeah.
And it's about, understanding, I guess having a framework to understand what that would look like. And especially something for me
that's
is
great.
that as two men on self-development, you can listen to a podcast and feel like you are behind. You are part of the 99% of
Yeah,
people who are
man.
behind, because you compare yourself without understanding that you think you are in the same season of life as someone else,
Yeah, that's
without understanding and reflecting on your own season of life, right? So this is what I've used to do that. And so we created this together. We created this list together, but I didn't actually see you rank any of them. So I want to see what have been the most fulfilling memories to you in all of these areas of life right now. So let's check it out. So you've got 3 in the highest tier.
Yeah.
You got 12 in gold, 20 in silver, and the rest are 15. I'm going to let you pick the first one you want to talk about. And I'm wondering, is that the best of the year? Or
Yeah. So that first one, it happened pretty recently, actually. Well, I
is
had
that this? Reconnecting?
Yeah, reconnect with my ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
Helping each other heal. That was like a thing. I never knew if it was going to happen. It was a really great relationship that ended in a kind of pretty traumatic end. We were both, okay, but there was betrayal and lots of hurt, and we couldn't ever kind of reconnect properly. And fuck, since then I've just been so hung up on it for so long, and I didn't let myself push it down. And I was always like, well, that's there and I don't know what to do with it. But talking to her was seemed like the worst thing in the world. And she lives far away now, so it's a different thing.
Yeah.
But after I hit the rock bottom of last year, which was pretty rough,
Yeah.
I was like, I have to talk to her. I just have to. I have to get my closure on this in an actually healthy way. And I believed that I could talk to her, so I did. And I hit her up and we talked, and then we talked a few more times. And then there was this really beautiful moment recently when we talked, and she'd written a song about her experience of the kind of breakup and the period after it. And I listened to it and I just wept and sobbed, and she was like, whoa, I did not expect this. But I'd waited for it for so long. It was like, I wanted to come to some understanding, and if I was a different person, or if I was me in a different season, maybe I wouldn't have needed that. But that was the thing that, that I've been waiting for. And it was so because I'd been identified with the hurt of it for so long, that was the most important thing of the year, was reconnecting with her and feeling oh man, it all makes sense, or at least it all could make sense. That was amazing. And yeah, we had this big cry, and it was the first time that she kind of went I felt awful, and just showed me how she felt, and it's oh, thank God, we did love each other, and now it's different, but we did have these feelings, and it just kind of all came together. It was amazing. And in the top 3 is the other one's getting help from Natalie, and this has been the most complicated year ever.
Yes.
Because I've met this new person and we get along really well, and I've been dealing with this other stuff, and it's all come up because Natalie came in and was like, here's some compassion. And I was like, oh God, not compassion. That means I get to feel my feelings. And so they all came up, and then I got to process all the stuff about my ex-girlfriend, and it was really tough for Natalie to be like, I like this boy, but he's getting over his ex, or is he getting over his ex? I'm like, fuck, man. Lots of lots of challenging things about being a young man and wanting to like, wanting to have that nice, like, oh, I've got it together kind of situation, but I don't, and I didn't. And I just had to be like, all right, shit, Natalie, like, I'm into you, but like, I've just got to go do this, and I can't give you any clarity on it. And I can't give you that nice masculine clarity that I'm trying to embody. I just have to go, I don't know. And I'm sorry, but I don't know. And it was actually amazing for her and I, but that moment of getting help from Natalie was, I was telling her, I was like, I don't think I'm in love with you, and I don't think we can be together, and I'm actually not okay. And that was it. And I was like, oh, I'm actually really not okay. And that night I went home to my parents' house and just stayed there for 2 weeks and just cried and relived many things. Many big things have happened in the past few years that I hadn't processed. And that was the moment of me being like, I like this person and I want her to like me, but what's more important right now is like, I'm not okay, and I'm not good enough to be in some kind of nice, lovely relationship. I've got a lot of stuff, and I had to go like, oh man, I hope this doesn't hurt too bad, but I got to go do this. And that third one in the first category was, it says trying over and over again to better myself for every day.
Yes.
And that is like a thing that I'm learning is super valuable, because the curiosity that I have about how to every day, not necessarily like, I want to be better every day, work harder. It's like, it's not that.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to get up every day, and I don't want to like sit back into my kind of selfish reactivity and be like, oh, I'm tired. It's like if I wake up every day, like I'm not in Gaza, and not to be like, yo man, oh, there's awful things in the world, you should be grateful. It's like, but like really embodying like, oh my God, I'm sleeping in a bed. Like I've got problems, and it's not to dismiss my problems, but like I'm sleeping in a bed. Like I choose to get in an ice bath. Like this is a life of enormous privilege. And like, yeah, I'm tired and I got injuries, and like I want to sort out all my relationships because they're difficult for me. It's like, man, it's a gift to be able to sort out my relationships. Let's approach it with that and then go into it and feel it, like it's a gift to be able to feel this, and I'm very upset or I'm angry now or whatever. But holding both of those things, that's why that thing's so important. Is it's like every day if I'm like, no, actually I'm not going to let myself just kind of give in to like any of that stuff, reacting with anger, being angry with people, blaming other people for stuff, giving into like impulses to just like do nothing all day, or to be like, oh, I'm horny, let's watch some porn. It's like, I don't believe in that. If you do, rock and roll. But I don't believe that that's a good thing for me. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that even though I want to for a minute. I'm not going to just be lazy even though I want to. I'm going to get in the ice bath because I know it's so good for me.
Yes.
And I'm going to have the conversation with Natalie instead of avoiding her. I'm going to be like, oh no, I don't want you to stay tonight, and I'm real sorry, but I've got a big day tomorrow. And then I'm going to talk to her about it. And it's like, that's the thing that every day is going to do the thing. And what do I want to do with my life? Like, what's the things that really light me up? I want to keep investigating and not be like, oh, this is okay. This is, I'll just do this for a while. It's like, no, man, let's do it and talk to people about it and really. So that's why it's up there. Because without that, it's like I wouldn't have reconnected with my ex, and I wouldn't have gotten help, and I would have just been a sad little bean.
I think the most interesting thing about what you just said there, especially with the fact that, whether it be advice or whether it be just taking yourself away from discomfort, the fact that you have a part of your brain that wants to do all these things that rely on instant gratification. If you think further into the future, you understand that these things don't actually serve me or help me in any way apart from right now with this discomfort. Yeah. Right?
Oh, that's interesting.
And so I don't know if you've seen my stories on the whole frame of mental health as a parent-child relationship with ourselves.
I don't think I have.
Okay.
But I like that. I have thoughts on this. I've learned things about this.
Cool. Let's talk about it, man. But basically we have the subconscious mind of a child and the conscious will of a parent. And so our conscious will determines our environment, and our environment determines our behavior. And so if we think... if we think about it in terms of a relationship that our parents set up for us, when we are children, we cannot manage our emotions. We cannot understand that things that we want now will hurt us in the future. Yeah. Even if we can barely understand that, we don't even care. We don't have the level of cognition to care. And so our parents provide that for us our whole lives until we come of age to where we have to do that ourselves.
Yeah.
And so you probably know of someone who is very old but still acts like a child, right? And so basically, when we become adults, there's actually no such thing as no thing that can really determine whether you are an adult or a child in the way you act, basically. Because we think about, oh, you go through puberty, oh, you have these numbers, right? But the fact that someone who's in their 60s can be so in such emotional turmoil that they act like a child just shows that there's something more to becoming an adult that we don't really understand. And that's really how I view it now. Our conscious mind is the parent to our subconscious mind, the child. Because what I found in myself especially is that there are so many peaks, highs and lows of especially things like inspiration, trauma, that we act out subconsciously. And a big thing for a lot of people is vices. So things like porn, video games, smoking, alcohol, stuff like that. People say, I have a problem with this. I have a problem with this. Da. When in reality, it's the fact that your subconscious mind is dealing with a trauma or a difficult problem, or even something as simple as boredom. And the first thing that they feel like they need to do is go to a vice to calm their mind from it.
Yeah, right.
And again, just like a child who thinks all they want to do is eat ice cream all day, which is going to ruin themselves, a parent has to step in to say, actually, I see that you have this craving or an uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what we can do instead. Or what happens if the parent completely lets the child do whatever they want? What ends up happening is that the parent will be a slave to the child because they will act out. They will act out on all of their impulses.
Yeah.
And if the parent acts like a slave to the child, both the child and the parent will end up unhappy.
Yeah.
But if we reconcile the child's feelings, give them space for it, and understand what they're going through without any feelings of hate or shame or anything like that, understand what the child is going through, help them through it because they don't know what is going on at the moment. That is what the role of our conscious mind is. And that's what our parents provide us at the start of our childhood. But when we come of age, we need to do that for ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I found after reading such a... It's a cornerstone book of attachment. It's called Attached. That's where I came up with the name of it.
Yeah, great.
And it tells you about the different attachment styles people have.
Yeah, cool.
And through that, I realized there are a plethora of insecure actions I take because of something that happened in my childhood that it's not like I suppressed it, but I didn't even look at it in the face and see it for what it was. And it was so subconscious that, again, it's like a child who has a problem that they would never tell their parent because they're scared and their parent has demonstrated that they don't care about their well-being. What meditation did for me is it opened me up to feeling what I was feeling in my body, and through my body, what that meant emotionally and what happened in my past that dictated that. And so basically when you told me about the whole thing of bettering myself every day, I see that story within you where it's like your mind is telling you to do one thing and it's up to you to be a parent to yourself and be like, I hear those thoughts, but I am not going to let your impulses control me, right?
I've got a good friend, Scott Townsend. He's an amazing breathwork coach. He's Wim Hof certified. He's amazing. And he teaches cold exposure stuff, and we did some cold exposure stuff, and someone asked a question like, oh, what happens if, I get those thoughts that are like, oh, I don't want to do it. Scott says, He goes, whenever I have those thoughts about not doing the things that I've committed to doing, I just say in my mind, I don't negotiate with terrorists. It's the greatest thing.
Yeah.
And like, I believe in understanding the childish thoughts, because it's the things of like emotion and intuition of like, but I want that thing and it'll feel good. And so to teach my body, Joe Dispenza talks about it a lot. Like, I'm going to teach my body the things that the conscious mind knows, you know, like I'm going to teach my body that the ice cream, you know, 2 liters of ice cream, like, I don't care, man. That's going to make you feel bad. Like, I don't care who you are, you know, that's not the thing. And it's the thing that you told yourself. So it's like, I'm going to teach my body not to, through a place of understanding. But for me, and I think for everyone, it gets to a certain point, I have thoughts about like kicking off at one of my coworkers that I don't like very much, or that I just struggle with. Like, I have thoughts about kicking off at them. Yeah. And I'll like have this thought and I'll clock it. And I just go inside my mind. I just go like, I'm not doing it. We're not doing that. Yeah. I just like shove the thought away and go like, no, you know, because there's that like, kids need to learn. This is what I think. I've taught kids quite a lot. So I'm like, kids need to learn like, no, okay, so this is why, but you can't say this is why every time. You don't have time. You got stuff to do. So to teach the kids like, here's why, and you know why now. So next time you do it, I'm going to go, nah, I'm not going to do it. And it's so cool inside my mind to be like, no, not that. I don't have time for it.
Yeah.
It's really, really great.
But the thing is, again, because it's a relationship we have with ourselves, and the fact that no child is perfect and no parent is perfect means that there are going to be days where our conscious mind doesn't want to control that child, doesn't want to help that child do things. And I've felt that even after looking at through this framework, the beginning thing that came to my mind was that, oh, if I'm the parent to my subconscious mind, every time I fuck up, I am just a terrible quote unquote parent. I have a terrible control. But while it is a fact that it is all on you to control your impulses, that means we have to do the best to make sure we are in a place that we have the ability to do that with things as simple as sleep, because sleep will have such an outrageous impact on something like willpower. And the concept of willpower is literally the ability to control your impulses and the ability to control and concile that child within you, right? And so, yeah, man, that frame is something I've been working on with a while, and it's helped me to an enormous extent. And now I've been able to help my friends with some problems that they're dealing with, especially in terms of this fuzzy ball that we call mental health, because I literally hate that term because it doesn't tell me anything about what that means. Does mental health mean that I'm happy every day? Does mental health mean that I have the best relationships with everyone? I'm just fucking prancing around. Does it mean that I'm depressed all the time? Because when people talk about mental health on the internet, they're like, oh, my mental health's been really bad. What does that even mean? You know?
Yeah. One thing I'd like to share on it is that thing of like, when you are trying your best to control the things, or, you know, to teach the children thoughts, you know, what to do. And then when you fuck up, or you kind of like, you get to the end of the day and you're like, man, I was really trying, but I really didn't do well. I thought I was coming from that place of like, you know, here we are, I'm going to control my actions. You get to the end of the day, it's like, I'm pretty embarrassed about that actually. Like, that didn't go so well. Really? One of the things that has really helped me like not be hard on myself about it is this beautiful old Maori framework that I got taught from this lovely old guy, Ollie Olsen. And he talked about all the Maori atua, so like the gods. It's not gods, that's Christianity putting words into Maori.
I see.
But you know, he talked about all these different gods, and you can draw comparisons to the Greek gods, all these really temperamental beings, you know. If you think of them as just like different kind of manifestations of a person, or different thought forms or whatever. There's all these stories in ancient Maori about gods kind of working together to do something. And you see, I'll use like English language, but the god of kind of unconditional love, and then you get the god of like fear and terror. And if you put those two together, then you actually get this kind of wise counsel, right? You put fear with unconditional love. Unconditional love's like, all right, okay, we were hurt in the past, and this seems like a similar situation. So I get to the end of the day, and I'm like, why did God, I'll show you a video. You can put it up. I was at Red Bull cliff diving, and got a couple chances to jump off the boards. The lower boards, the 10-meter board.
Wait, so just tell me what cliff diving is?
Cliff diving is high diving off 21 and 27-meter boards. They have warm-up boards that are 6 meters and 10 meters tall into the ocean down when you're quarter at the moment. Yeah. And me and the diving club are doing some stuff down there. The divers did their stuff, and I was like, oh, I've got some togs, I'm going to do this. And I got on 10 meter, and one of the girls was like, will you do this trick with me? And I'd never trained it before. It was a flying front flip to my feet. And I'd never trained it before. And I was like, yeah, I can do it. And I did it, and I landed over on my face. Not too far on my face, but it wasn't pretty.
Back onto water.
Yeah. And I turned my head to the side, and I got out of the water, and I was pretty all right. But I was like, I got home at the end of the day, and I was like, if I turned my head more, I could have burst my eardrum.
Really?
Yeah, it's like that's, So, and I was like, oh man, I was in a professional environment. I'm like an MC. I could have burst my eardrum because I made a silly decision. And I got to the end of the day and I was not proud of that at all. I was like, that was a stupid thing to do, man.
Yeah.
Like that was a childish thing to do. I was like, okay, why did I do it though?
Yes.
Like, firstly, thank God it went how it went. Could have gone way worse. Yeah. But like, why did I do it? And I was like, what was that thing? Like, what was that thing that I was like, oh, I really just wanted to be loose and have fun and have full self-belief because that feels amazing. I was like, all right, I get it. I wanted to like let go a little bit and have fun. Okay, well, what happens if I pair, that feeling of freedom and creative joy and self-belief, whatever that feeling is, because I know it quite well. What can I pair that with, have them work together and put me in a better place? And I was like, acting, man. Because I'm a professional actor. I was like, if I push into my acting work with this creative freedom, self-belief, if I go into there with this, like, I want to get reckless, I want to get loose, within my acting craft, that's the place to do it. Because that creates great acting. If I just go onto a diving board and I haven't trained in months, that's not the place to put that. Yeah. But if I put it somewhere else, and that's the thing that's helped me hugely to like be okay with my actions, because I'll get to the end of the day and be like, why did I do that thing? Why did I say that to that person? Like, that was a long conversation about nothing. What did I want? Oh, I just wanted to connect with someone.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, cool. Well, yeah, what can we put that with? It's like, it's okay that I did that. And then you can kind of deal with the repercussions if there are any repercussions. And you keep trying. But yeah, that's the thing I've done. So it's not like, oh, I have to be on top. It's like me versus all the thoughts. It's like, well, I kind of am just all the thoughts. Yeah. I'm just trying to conduct myself, and put them all together and let it just flow.
That's what I mean by the parent-child relationship.
Yeah.
So the way that I see everything that you just said in this lens is that you are trying to guide the child to be their most expressive self in the safest way possible. Right. And there's sometimes where, you let them have a little bit too much fun and you're like, okay, that could have been really bad, right?
Yeah.
But I think in any parent-child relationship in general, most of the happiness that you get, most of the happiness a child gets is through them being able to express themselves in their most pure way. And the most happiness a parent can get is by helping them do that. And also by seeing them thrive and grow and everything like that. And it's the same for ourselves because there's so many things. I think not the problem with social media, but the way that we use it is that it's basically like a parent showing their child, this is what you have to aspire to feel a feeling of success or happiness.
Oh, wow.
And if you don't do that, you are not happy. It's not like we consciously have this conversation in our mind.
Yeah.
It's, again, through the frame of parent-child relationship, the child will pay attention to everything the parent does and will use that to build their frame of their understanding of the world. And so it's again, our conscious will determines our environment and our environment determines our behavior. This is something that I recently fucked up with.
Yeah.
Because growing my YouTube channel in terms of life game design to help other people, to help specifically gamers who are going through the fact that they don't know how to design a life that is fulfilling as the games they play, which was my biggest problem. I see YouTubers who are doing a quarter of the effort that I put into this video that I recently made, and they are blowing up, right? And I was watching through these videos consciously, and that I didn't realize at the time, but my subconscious mind was watching. Like, oh, look at this guy. He's getting so many views. He must be so happy, because me as a parent was paying it so much attention. And then when I got to releasing this video that I spent 3 months on, it got 200 views within the first 24 hours. And it's the best work that I've ever done in my life. And I literally set myself up to fail because I'm
Right.
telling, if this video does not go well, you failed, basically. I never had that conversation with myself, but that's what my subconscious mind learned from what I was, the feedback that I was giving it.
Yeah.
So, fuck, man. I just think about that framework all the time now. I see
That's
it in everything.
That's
But I wanted
great.
to move on to some gold stuff. Now, the thing with this is that we don't have to go through everything here, but I just really want to go through the tears and be like, what sticks out to you in terms of these memories?
Okay, so I got my actor's headshots the day after I had the rock bottom of last year.
Yeah.
And that was like, it was when I was hanging out with Natalie in my car.
Yep.
And I was going, we had this long conversation. I was crying. I was like, oh my God, I'm not okay. I'm really not okay. I feel really alone. I felt really alone for a long time. I didn't believe that I could feel not alone. And I didn't know how to take any steps forwards. Like I felt alone around my family, you know? So going home to my family, I was like, shit, I hope I can feel not alone. And the mental kind of seesaw of going back and forth was really, really intense. The day after, I had a haircut and then I had actors' headshots. And you got to look good for actors' headshots. And so I went to get my haircut, and the guy who cut my hair is now my barber that I go to every time because he's the man. I wrote down on a piece of paper, I wrote down, hey, I'm stoked to be here, but I'm not doing so good. And I might not be like super talkative or I might be emotional or something.
Yeah.
And he read it and I just welled up with tears and he went, all good, just tell me what haircut you want. And then I was like, thank you. And then we got talking and he's a huge proponent of men's mental health. And we had this amazing conversation. I felt way better. He made me look really good. I went to get my actor's headshots and it was like this island of safety in the day. And it was like, no matter what stuff is going on mental health wise, doing these headshots with this woman, Andy Crown, she was so compassionate and just kind of pragmatic and warm and was like, okay, great. Well, the way she was with me made it really obvious that I have an acting career, that I'm good at this stuff, that I care about this stuff. And we talked about acting, we talked about headshots and what they're all about. And it illuminated like a whole other part of me, you know, that whole career focused, like, oh, I do want to, like, I don't know about change the world, but I do want to like be all these wonderful things and do all these wonderful things. Yes. And I know that I can, I believe that I can. And I hadn't entertained those thoughts for so long. To have her just be like, basically, you're wonderful, you know, was like, oh my God. And you're wonderful with all of the stuff, you know. I walked in and I told her how I was. And then we had all of that. So it's like, here I am fully. And she went, okay, cool. And now let's do some stuff that you really care about and are good at. And I was like, oh my God. In the midst of like the worst of the year, I can feel this like grounded dedication to the thing that I love without feeling kind of fear or sadness or anything. And that was amazing. So that was a huge moment. I regained some mobility in my thoracic spine. I had a back injury, or I thought I had a back injury. I had lots of back pain. And my osteopath looked at my x-rays and said, there's no injury here. I don't know what that specialist told you. And I had like debilitating back pain for probably 5 years. And then it got better, but not completely better for 3 years. And then I lay down on this foam roller like she told me to. She was like, you don't have a back injury. Just like lie on the foam roller and let your spine relax. And I watched my spine just like, and then I'd roll down. Okay. I was like, wow. And that was, now I can lay on my front. I haven't laid on my stomach for like 10 years and relaxed.
What would happen when you did that?
It would feel like I was sinking into this bit of my back and pain would start. And then when I'd get up, more pain would be there. But because I've got a new understanding of the thing and because I've taught my body that it's okay, I can like lie. I slept on my front the other night.
Yeah.
I haven't slept on my. I grew up sleeping on my front. I haven't slept on my front for like 10 years.
Yeah.
So huge, huge things.
I would have put that in strength as a massive, massive achievement. And think about it. Someone putting in as an achievement sleeping on the front. What the fuck? But that means so much to you. That means so much to you. And it shows so much growth.
It's been a humbling year of like what, because it's starting the year being like, yo, I'm gonna put on 10 kilos of muscle. I'm gonna record a whole album. I'm gonna like do all this stuff. I'm gonna star in all these fucking projects. I'm gonna earn all this money, and actually getting to the end of the year and being like, I've healed a relationship that was important to me. I've begun a new one. I've deepened relationships with my family, and I've started to heal and understand this injury that's been debilitating me for 10 years.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, maybe that's closer to what life's about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I feel like this is specifically why I set out to make this based on a gaming framework instead of a business framework. Because at the start of the year, you had the goals, I had the goals of like metrics, man. We need to hit those metrics. It would be like in business, like KPIs and all that bullshit, right? But all those things have no bearing on fulfillment in general. And fulfillment, I dictate, is the literal tunnel through the mountain of happiness and success, because something that fulfills you doesn't always make you happy, but it gives you peace of mind. And something that fulfills you doesn't always make you feel as externally successful as possible, but again, it gives you that internal fulfillment. And literally what we're after at the end of the day is peace of mind, that we can sit down with our thoughts, with our subconscious mind, and be like, actually, I am proud of what I did today. Whether that be a massive thing or something that is small, but we should give ourselves credit for. Like a parent would not look at their child and be like, why didn't you do 5 minutes in the ice bath today? You fucked up, son.
That's real good. It's really nice.
Oh my God.
All right, another thing is, I'll talk to one more thing in here.
Yeah.
Is the Wheel of Time. So I have been reading the Wheel of Time for 6 years. It's 15 books, including the prequel. And my brother he's a great guy, and he's really emotional, but he's way less outward about it than I am. I'm very outward with my emotions, and he's not. And we did a road trip once, and he was telling me about the Wheel of Time. This is like over 6 years ago. And he was telling me about it, and he talked about this love story between two characters, and he cried. He's sitting in the car crying, telling me about these books. And I was like, what? I've never seen him like that. And I was like, I have to read it. Hey, I have to read it. And he just went, I don't think you could. It's too long, because my attention span tends to be pretty bouncy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, fuck. I think, if it means so much to him, and if he thinks I can't do it, then I'm going to try do it. So I picked up the first book like 6 years ago, and I finished the last one early January, early this month. And it was, I mean, to go and like say, I'm going to do this thing and then do it, even if it was a little bit competitive, that was really great. One of the characters' storylines mirrored mine.
Wow.
For the last couple books.
Yeah.
He was like going really inwards and going like, I've got to be hard. I've got to do all this myself, and not letting people in. And I was reading about it, and I was like, you silly man. While I was doing exactly the same thing, right? Yes. And then he starts to open up right at the time that Natalie and I had that big cry, and I started to open up and receive help. Yeah. And I was like, this is bonkers that this is mirroring me so much. And it took me so long to read these books. And I was like, I don't believe in like a different life. Like, ooh, if I did this differently, my life would be different. I don't entertain those thoughts. Only for little small things, not big things. So if I read the book series earlier, would it have meant it as much to me? Like, I really don't think so. Like, it took me so long, but to get to the end as I was coming into whatever this big shift is that's happened this year for me has been amazing. Like, so being patient with myself and not forcing myself to read it, but only reading it when I really want to. Yeah. Getting to the end of it this year, and I read the last 40 pages out loud. It was like midnight. Oh, really? I read out loud quite a lot.
Oh, okay.
Because doing accent training, I'll read things out loud in different accents.
Yeah. Do you do like different characters? Like,
Sometimes, yeah. There's
that's
so many in the Wheel of Time, it got really complicated.
Oh, wow.
But we were, I was really close to the end of the book. Natalie reads fast and she loves reading, and she's like, you've got to finish it tonight. And so we were lying on the couch, and Natalie was kind of like taking a nap on my chest, and I was just reading this book out loud. Yeah. And I got to the end of it, and it makes me quite emotional.
Yeah, I can see. It's so cool.
But it was like seeing the characters come to kind of their end, and the writer did it so well.
Who's the writer?
It was Robert Jordan for the first 12, and then Brandon because Robert Jordan died, Brandon Sanderson took over and did the rest, and he's an amazing fantasy writer, and he got to write The Last Battle, and he's this big like epic kind of adventure guy, so he's great at writing fight scenes, and it was amazing that it happened like that. So I got to read all of that, and the whole kind of everything coming to a close, and it ends in a really good place, but not like a and everyone's happy and alive and together in all their relationships. It's like, no, like this is a big battle, people die, and so it wasn't like, and life is good. It was like, and this is life, and and this is where everyone is, and it was beautiful, and I just kind of was like, wow. So that was a huge achievement. Damn, dude. Huge achievement.
The thing that I love most about that is the fact that I think one thing that was probably a large determinant of the values that a society has, especially back in the day, back in the day. I'm thinking about Greek mythology, really. Yeah. And the fact that why do humans pay so much attention to mythical stories that have no bearing on reality? It's not real. Someone made all the stuff up, but it can bring us to such amazing conclusions on how we should live our own lives and reflect on the actions of our own lives. But also, I thought we pay an almost what seemed to me an undue amount of attention to it. So the whole thing about Hollywood movies having politics mixed into it, really, I really despise that, because it's like you're here to entertain yourself. You're here to kind of like shut off your mind and be like, I'm just going to enjoy this whole thing. But what I came to realize is that just like mythology of old, it was stories that taught us values, and those values gave us beliefs and really morals to adhere by. That's why they're so important to us. And I think what modern mythology provides us now, especially in terms of any kind of media, is literal ties to the values that we have in terms of showing us beliefs about characters and stuff like that. And I think my brother-in-law, Follow, one of his biggest achievements of the year in his diamond tier was a Netflix series called Bear, just because of the story that it taught him. Even though the same message was conveyed in books he's read, it really compelled him and tied in the emotion when he saw it in that media. And I feel, especially in terms of self-development, we shy away from leisure time, and we shy away from giving ourselves the space to really enjoy these things and even entertain the thought of watching it or reading it in the first place, right? But you can tell me, how much of an impact has that series made on your life in all other areas of life? Yeah,
it's incredible. Like the fact, like it's such a long thing, and I'm not knocking like shorter books or series or anything. I will knock short form content.
Yeah.
Like in this discussion, I think that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
But to be with a character, like to meet a character and be like, I do not like this character, and then to cry when they die later, you know, something like that is like, that's amazing. Or to be with a character and be like, why are they being such a dickhead? Like, this is such a bad character. It's like Snape in Harry Potter, man. You know, you get to the end of Snape's story and you're just like, oh no, like, oh my God, he's the hero.
Yeah.
Like, it gives me goosebumps, man.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, I think that is one, like there are so many lessons, but when I meet someone like that coworker that I struggle with, you know, I'm just like, oh man, I wonder why you're like this, you know, like, you know, and how should I approach this instead of just kind of kicking off or being like, yo, you got to stop this. It's like, well, you know, where's that coming from? I don't know. Like, and when you learn things about the characters, it's just amazing. And then learning things about myself, and when I meet a challenge and then thinking of these characters in the books, like they're characters in a book, you know, you never see them like eating, you know, so it's like they're pretty mythical, but the things of the key of their story is this person who's like this guy that like, I have to commit to my duty here. You know, this thing is more important than me. It's like, oh, that's an important thing to realize sometimes. You know, like I'm tired, but we're making a movie, or I'm tired, but like this morning, like I'm tired.
Yeah.
I finished work at 9:30 last night making French fries. And I was like, no, we're getting up at 6 and we got to do my morning stuff and we got to get to Michael and do the thing. And it's like, why? It's like, oh, I could just rest. It's like, but this is good. You know, this is the journey. Like, I'm not going to lie, man.
Yeah.
I love interviews. I like dream of being interviewed
Yeah.
for things. I don't know why, but I was like, that's one thing that's one of my dreams. And I just was like, oh, I'm pretty tired. And I was like, Chris, you're living your dream, man.
Yeah.
This is the dream. Like, I don't care that it's, you know, it's not in Hollywood, but maybe you don't want to be in Hollywood. Tom Holland doesn't want to be in Hollywood. I watched an interview with him and he's just like, fuck this, man. Honestly, I like movies, but I don't like Hollywood. This is bad. And I was like, yeah, okay. Like, you don't know where the dream's going to be. And it's like, all of a sudden, it's like Saturday morning in Sandringham is happening.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what? Man, life is so surprising when you let it happen. Keep committing to the duty of it. And yeah, so the stories like that, being so entrenched with these characters for so long, it's like, yeah, it goes over to everything. And yeah, I could speak for ages about the Wheel of Time, but we don't have time. Read the Wheel of Time.
Anything else within the gold tier that speaks out to you?
I guess I'll speak to a couple really briefly and then we'll keep going. But
Yeah.
like developing family relationships and also, and talking to my parents about my mental health.
Yes.
My parents didn't quite get it,
Yeah.
you know, but talking to them about it is still important. You know, talking to them, because I feel like I have to hold my own a bit and be like, you know, I think I have ADHD, and mom's just kind of like, yeah, well, you know, that's like not that big a deal. I'm like, well, okay. It kind of maybe is, you know, maybe it's, but maybe it is. Or maybe it's, I know it's really useful for me to think about it. So even if mom doesn't quite get it, like that's okay. And then going like, I'm pretty upset. And I had some suicidal thoughts and I talked to mom about it. And she went, I've had suicidal thoughts. And I was like, what? And then I reflected on her life and I was like, oh, of course you have. Of course, she's been through a lot. It's like, oh my God, okay, right. You know, this isn't just like a young people thing. I was like, oh, okay. That was really important. And so now my relationship with my mom isn't so much like, you know, it's still, she's my mother, I'm her son. But now we have connected like eye to eye on having suicidal thoughts or lots of things, having injuries, you know, talking to that and talking to my dad. He's retired and there was a point this year when I was on the benefit. Yeah. And it was kind of the same thing. Yeah. And so dad and I sat down and we're like, we're doing the same thing. He's 50 years older than me. And we just realized we're doing the same thing. I was like, oh, wow. So that's been hugely important. Yeah. And then the other,
I just want to touch on the part about, you know, discussing such an important topic with your mother. Before it got to that point, how did it build up to that? Was it just like all of a sudden you're talking about these very high level things, or was there like a gradual build up to opening up with each other about thoughts in general?
I have always had I'm really honest with my parents. I've like gotten in trouble with my brother for telling my parents too many things because I use the way that I kind of do life is I use people as a sounding board for my thoughts. Yeah. I want to tell people things so I can receive them back to me and be like, you know, what do you think of it? So I've always been pretty open with my parents. I remember when I was like in high school, I was like, Mom, Dad, I went into their room at night. I was like, Mom, Dad, I think I'm bisexual. And they were like, okay. And I was like, and they're like, anything else? And I was like, no. And they were like, okay, good night. And I left and I was like, okay, well, that was like, turns out I don't really need to make a decision on that. And like, you know, it was this big thing at school. And I took it home and Mom and Dad were like, okay, whatever, man. I mean, fine. But,
were you expecting more to come out?
Yeah, I was expecting something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I've always had this kind of open thing. So it kind of started there and then I'd talk to them and I kind of actively talk to them about relationship stuff. That's the one thing that I've really tried to do. I've been like, Dad, what was like, what was it like being 26? And did you have relationships and girlfriends? And it's amazing talking to my parents about that stuff, because he'll be like, yeah, I had this girlfriend, and and he's like, and then I went to the Vietnam War, and I was like, oh right, shit, this is a different thing, but some things will still relate. And then my mom talking about relationships and stuff as well. I think it was great for me to start there.
Yeah.
And because when I have big difficulty, there's kind of like a pressure to solve the problem. But when it's not a big problem, it's kind of easier.
Yeah.
But that day was like, I got to work. It was the day after I talked to my ex-girlfriend, and she seemed to be doing really well. And so I felt like I wasn't doing really well as a result.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like life was pointless. And I pulled up to work, and this thought came into my mind, like, I might go jump off a bridge. And I was like, oh no, like, what?
Yeah.
I never experienced that. And so I like did work. I was just crying, making burgers.
Yeah.
And the girls at work were really nice to me and giving me big hugs and stuff.
Yeah.
I just went straight home to Mum and was like, Mum, I had a suicidal thought.
Yeah.
I had a couple suicidal thoughts. And they were real clear, crystal clear, kind of terrifyingly clear. And she was like, okay, you going to do it? And I was like, no. I mean, I didn't know, but that was pretty scary. And she was like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, all good, and it wasn't exactly what I wanted, but to make it real, like in the real world, that's maybe and to make it real with the people who are the realest to me. Yeah. My close relationships, I've learned, mean a heck of a lot to me.
Yeah.
And I see them all the time. So if I can tell my brother, like, hey man, I've had some suicidal thoughts, and he goes, hey, are you going to do it? I don't think so. And he's like, okay, cool. Then that exists now between him and I.
Yeah.
So that's when I talk about developing family relationships. It's kind of like that.
Yeah. Because what I was thinking of is the fact that relationship you have with your family now is amazing. The ability to talk about those things. And I think when people talk about, in general, this is a peeve of mine, mental health awareness in general, they're like, you need to talk, you need to speak up, Right. Imagine if I went to you the first time in your gym, you need to do 100 kilo bench press.
Right.
You need to do that. Right? This is the pinnacle of fitness.
Right.
It's not happening. You need to go through the steps of hitting the bar. You need to slowly add weight. You need to work on your form. And the same is with relationships, I believe. And in terms of mental health, talking about what is going on in your day, and especially with men, the fact that men don't talk enough about the everyday problems that they have, because we think gossip is fucking stupid, but it's the biggest superpower women have that we don't understand.
Right.
I saw that. I was like really diving deep into why the fuck do women gossip? It makes no sense. And then I got to a point where I couldn't tell my friends about simple problems in my day because I thought it was fucking stupid. I thought it was like, oh my God, I'm just gossiping about this. It came to a point where I needed to tell them something really big. It's like I needed to lift 100 kilos, but I had never lifted 20 before.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, fuck, I don't know what to do. And I bottled it up inside and I didn't do anything about it. And the thing is, what I started is that I treated it as the same as the gym. I was like, okay, you know what? From now on, I'm just going to say what happened in my day, whether it's good, whether it's bad, And then I started this pact with my friends where we did that. And we slowly built up to the point where we were all able to share some really big things only because we lifted those weights together. We went through the small weights together.
That's so great.
So I was wondering like where I didn't want to assume it was just like a natural part of your relationship with your family.
No, but it was intentional for me.
Yeah. Where do you felt that started?
I do this thing in my days when someone goes like, how you doing? I'll actually answer them.
Yeah.
But I won't like try and go into it too much. If someone's like, how you doing? I'll be like, today's a bit difficult, but I'm doing really, I'm handling that really well.
Yeah.
How you doing? And I try and do that all the time. I don't like nail it all the time. Sometimes I'll be like, I'm good, let's crack on, Yeah. But that learning how to do that has been really well. So that's helped me heaps. And I've learned it's great with Natalie because we've had to have this really intentional relationship. Like, because I've been like, oh, I'm not really like ready for a relationship, but we both want one. And so we've had to have this really intentional, clear communication happening. And so with her, I've gotten used to saying the actual thing that's on top. So if I'm like, well, I feel a bit out of my body right now and I'm trying to solve it in my head, Natalie's like, how are you doing? Instead of saying like, oh, I'm good. Like, I'll be like, oh, I feel a little bit out of my body right now. And I'm just kind of stuck in my head. And she'll be like, are you still stuck in your head? I'm like, yeah, I am actually. I feel really weird. She's like, okay, cool. And making that thing real is like the best thing ever. And so with my parents, it's kind of different because I don't have that framework.
Yeah.
But I can know that like, okay, I'm with my parents and I feel kind of out of my body. Like, what do I want to do about that? Or talk about something real that's important.
Yeah.
And so I'll be like, how's Grandad? And that's another thing in this list is like deepening a relationship with my granddad. I've got this cool tattoo and that he's really proud that I have.
Let's talk about that, man.
He was a Royal Marine and he's 93 now and he keeps saying he's about to die, but he might be, but he's pretty solid. Yeah. He's really funny and
tough guy.
Yeah. We spent I just kept going up there and having lunch with him and talking, and he would just kind of tell me the same stories over and over again. And I just listen and, I don't really try and help him or do anything. I just kind of listen to his stories, and the stories are great. He was a Royal Marine for quite a while and has amazing fun stories, as well as the really intense ones. He doesn't tell the really intense ones. But then the other day he said to me like, it's kind of hard to think about, carrying on after your wife dies. And then we kind of just continued with the conversation. I didn't press it at all. But that was amazing because everything is like him telling stories and making little jokes and, and for him to just with me, no one else around, just kind of went like, here's a little bit of my heart, is what it felt like. That was not a casual thing. And I was like, yeah, it is. I bet it is. I can't imagine. He was like, yeah. And then we carried on and bloody had a good day. Yeah. But that was like, like speaking to what you're talking about. Yeah. It's so much less obvious and intentional with him because I don't have that young people relationship of like, yeah, let's work on stuff. But just going and having lunch over and over again. Yeah. Not trying to help him, not trying to change him or anything. Just getting to the point where he goes, actually, this is a thing that I've been thinking about. And that's the thing that I always want to talk to people about. I ask people like, how's your brain? What have you been thinking about? Yeah. It's like, what have you been doing is like, I care. Because sometimes it's really cool, sometimes it's really hard, whatever. But what have you been thinking about is what I care about. Because people are just like, I've actually been, they'll be like, I've been thinking about where to live. I want to live somewhere else. It's like, that's so interesting. Yeah. It's so much more interesting. So that's the thing. Is like, I want to know about that stuff. If it's hard or if it's great, whatever. The thing that actually allowed me to really increase my capacity was something in the previous one, which was the meditations from Joe Dispenza. Yes. That's the thing that's been amazing because it's helped me in the morning go, can I just feel a different way? Can I clock how I have been feeling and can I just feel a different way? Can I like drop into my heart and be like, here I am. Oh my God, I actually feel good. And how do I want to behave in the world? Like, how do I really want to behave? And how do I not want to behave anymore? I don't want to get stuck in my head. I don't want to be afraid. I don't want to feel anxious. It's not, I don't want to ever feel fear. It's just, I don't want to feel constantly afraid. Yes. I don't want to feel guilty. I don't want to feel resentful. And how do I want to feel? It's like, I want to feel grateful. I want to feel abundant. And can I just feel that? And that's how I spend my mornings and my evenings in this half-hour meditation. Yeah. And it gets really specific. Like, what specific thoughts do I want to think?
Is this a guided thing that?
Yep. Guided half hour.
Oh yeah. Is it on Audible? Because I know the hour one.
Those ones I bought on his website.
Oh, I see.
They're like $40. It's well worth if you read the books and understand what you're doing.
Yeah. And you've been using that like this whole time.
Yeah, for like 2 months.
Nice.
2 months. It's really, really cool. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Great meditations. You've really got to apply yourself and then really profound things happen. So that's been supporting me because it's like, well, if I doubt it, I get to start and end the day by going like, okay, remember, what are the thoughts I don't want to feel? Oh, those are what's making today difficult. That's why I'm tired. What are the thoughts I do want to think and all that stuff. So I can't I could just emphasize that forever, but Joe Dispenza, his work, it's really, really cool.
Dude, it's fucking
insane. Yeah, increasing the capacity, seeing a psychologist was a really cool action step I actually asked my parents to pay for it. That was a humbling moment.
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing her a little bit less, but I'm paying for the sessions myself, which feels really, really great. I set up an ice bath in my house. I thought it was going to be a selfish thing, but turns out all my mates want to come around and get in the ice bath.
Yeah.
So it turned into a community thing, which is really surprising. I did a bunch of Instagram reel stuff, and it's not quite where I want to go, I think, but some of the content I made was quite good.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of getting closer to maybe what I want to make. Either way, it was fun and the content's nice.
Gotcha.
I taught at a high school for 2 weeks. That was inspiring. I don't want to teach high school.
You found that out real quick.
Yeah, I found it real quick, but it was really great.
Yeah.
And then, I got a superhero French fry tattoo because one of my things is I'll get, when I've been low, it's like, oh, this is terrible. And then I do the things to help me feel better. And then when I start doing better again, I forget about that journey. And so I got this cool ass French fry tattoo on my leg to be like, when I'm really in the place of living my dreams, like really making movies and really like, surrounded by different people probably for a lot of the time, I can go like, no, you hit rock bottom and you were making French fries. And that job saved me, essentially. It was like every day, like 4 days a week, I got to go and do that.
Yeah.
And I did that really well. And I met new people and, that was the thing. And so it was like, stay humble, man, because you're going to like, yes, I'm going to go and do the most incredible things ever. But the pit happened and then I was making French fries. And like, if I forget that is the beginning, then I'm lost. So I just was like, stamp it on my body. Like,
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
I can't run from that ever. I gotta stay humble.
That's why it's superhero French fry, right?
Yeah, it's super. It saved me, man.
Oh, I see. That's so cool.
That's that. And then I've been writing a screenplay. Lots of little important things. That's the thing. Like, I don't know where it'll go, but I was passionate about writing and I wanted to keep creative. Ebb and flow into how into that I am.
Yeah.
And then the coolest thing in here is controlling sexual energy.
Yes.
Which is like, man, I'm 26 and lots of like, I grew up with, if anyone's like sensitive to hearing about sex or porn, I'm not going to go into any graphic detail, but if you don't want to hear about it, you can skip it. But if you're a young man, I think it's a good thing to talk about.
Yeah.
So
I think we have a lot of confusion about it as young men, especially in relation to self-development. So I'd love to hear.
Yeah.
You, man.
I was talking to girls about how they talk about sex with each other, and they talk about it, man. Boys, we don't. We like brag about it. We don't really talk about it. I've heard girls like they will, because I've been with Natalie and we've had a really great sex life and a really conscious sex life, and she's been like, oh yeah, I told my best friend everything, and I was like, oh really? She's like, yeah, you don't tell your boys everything? I was like, no, I don't tell them everything. I'll tell them like bits. But I'm fascinated with it because I've been like ashamed in sexual circumstances, like finishing too early, like before I wanted to, things like that. I've been like ashamed of like wanting sex with someone when it wasn't appropriate, and that's a problem. Like that's a whole thing, and sex is a huge part of life. It is like life.
Yeah.
So, and most people want to have really great sex. And that's, growing up watching porn is like, that's not great sex, actually.
It's an act.
It's an act, and it's a visual thing, whereas sex is like a full body thing. I believe it's quite a spiritual thing, but whether you believe that or not, it's like, it's at least a full body thing. And it involves systems in the body more than just your like visual processing system.
Yeah. It's more than just getting a bone and be like, I want to.
I want to do that.
I want to do that. No.
Yeah. So this work is like, there's a guy online, Taylor Clark Johnson, who's got heaps of free content about integrating sexual energy and transmuting it. And that's something that I've been really clocking lately is like, oh, I see a really attractive woman. It's like, okay, that's me, The thing I'm seeing is like me. I'm like, I'm attracted to a visual thing, but that's a whole person. I'm a whole person. And so I'm going to treat that person not like a hot, sexy thing, but like a whole person, just like I am. And whatever energy my body's suddenly flooded with, I want to take a deep breath and go like, what am I doing today? Because I'm not pursuing that person. That's the most basic pragmatic thing. And it's about controlling impulses. And what I'll do is like something Taylor Clark Johnson recommends is like I was like, oh yeah, I just got all of a sudden really horny and I wanted to watch porn and I'm home alone and I full could, but I don't really want to. If you want to and you believe in it, rock and roll, no judgment.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm like, I don't really want to, man. I want to like write movies and I want to, I want to get to it. So it's like, oh, I got really horny. Okay, cool. Let me just like leave this room, take a deep breath, do some push-ups, and just think for a minute, like, what am I really keen on at the moment? And this thing's really helpful for it.
Yeah.
To be like, what was important last year?
Yes.
It wasn't watching porn. I watched porn last year.
Yeah.
It's not on
It doesn't
the
show up. It doesn't show up as an achievement. It doesn't show up as an achievement.
You know? And so that's the practice that's super important here is like, oh yeah, cool. Because sometimes it's like, I don't know, it's at night and I'm like, actually, yeah, like masturbating or not watching porn, but engaging in that sexual energy is like exactly what I want to do. That's perfect. I've got a day off tomorrow. I can chill out. I can have a sleep in. It's fine. But if I don't have that, if it's like a Wednesday and I got a busy Thursday and I'm all horny, it's like, oh man, how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
Let's take a deep breath, do some of these practices that all these people online talk about, how to just integrate your energy and be like, yeah, tomorrow's going to be a great day, man. I don't have to dismiss this. I can be, of course I'm horny. I'm a 26-year-old man. I'm nice and healthy. Like, you know, I'm out and social and I've got social media, which are like, man, if that doesn't, there's so much, like so many naked people on social media.
Yeah. And it's just like subtle porn.
Yeah.
I forget the like proper term, but it's just subtly cueing your mind for those thoughts.
Yeah.
And what you said about really releasing your energy, I feel like that's what the symptom of horniness really is. Not from the point where you actually are so compelled to connect with someone. It's more of like,
that's good.
Yeah, it's more of like,
good.
I'm either uncomfortable, and it's not just related to porn. It can be alcohol. For me, it was video games. For other people, it's cigarettes. It's the fact that you either have such tension in your body or your mind, and the fact that you don't know how to release it apart from giving into that vice.
Yeah.
And what you said by... The thing is, I don't like when practitioners or advisors say, like, if you have this, you have to do this, but they don't explain why they're in between. And so basically, when you give yourself a deep breath, when you change your environment, go into another room, when you do your push-ups, it's a different form of releasing the tension. Also giving yourself space to be like, okay, I understand that there is tension in my body. I need to find a way to deal with it apart from doing something that's going to make me feel worse later.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, because... Yeah, it was video games to me. It was video games to me. And I think one of the reasons why, and I think why the gaming community in general is so wrapped in them, is because they are so perfectly designed for fulfillment. Whereas we don't design our own lives for fulfillment in the same way. We don't consciously think about the fact that we need to do it in the first place. So I don't know if you've heard anything about like traditional life gamification.
I've heard a little bit. I haven't got fully into it.
I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
It's like,
I heard someone say a similar thing. It's just like, this is not it.
This is fucking dumb. It's like, oh, I have this XP algorithm. Oh, I have this like reward system. Every time I go for a run, I can have ice cream. Like, fuck, bro. It's so stupid, dude. And it's because people think that, okay, if life is a game, you just take everything in games and shove it into life. And no, it's not like that. Think about what game designers do. They design the game to make you as fulfilled as possible. And that does not mean just having fun, because the games that I love to play and people play addictively are hard and boring and frustrating. The Souls series, Dark Souls, Elden Ring, all that stuff. I can't imagine why the fuck someone would do that when they don't get paid for it. They have to sacrifice their time for it. And the fact that they could be working or doing something else, right? But they sink into this because it is designed in such a way. And so, yeah, I guess I made this because we need to design our lives like a game, not force it to be a game. Because life is already that. Life is already the game it is. So we need to design it like its own unique thing. And so, what is a part of, I guess, a practice or something that you've designed for yourself that you found has really helped you in your life?
I get up in the morning and I do a few things before I start my day.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the simplest way to put it. Like what it is for me is like, I used to do breath work and Pilates, and I do a bit of Pilates and an ice bath and this meditation, and that takes quite a while. Yeah. Sometimes I don't have time for the meditation if I need big sleeps or something's really early or something comes up, but I'll always do something like at least a little bit of Pilates, and hopefully a little ice bath. I didn't have one this morning. I didn't quite have time, but just something like getting up and just going into my day reactively is not the thing. So I think it's like I do something that means something to me before I do all the rest of the stuff. And I'm not allowed to text anyone.
Yep.
That's one thing I'm not allowed to, and I'll sometimes break that rule if there's like a logistical, if someone's like, oh shit, can you send me this thing ASAP? Like I might do that, but it's usually like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
So it's like I get up at 6 and then I don't do any communications on my phone until 7. And because I don't trust myself to like make the good choices because I haven't reminded myself of what the good choices are.
Yeah.
Like wake up and like, do some Pilates, get in the ice bath, do a meditation. Then I'm going to be pretty confident that my choices are not so reactive and are like pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that in the morning. And in the evening I journal. Just because the way my mind has tended to work is like, I'll be really present with someone and I'll get to the end of my day and be like, what did I do today? Yeah, I just won't really know.
Yeah.
And I'll have to be like, because I'll start my journaling and be like, today was pretty good. And then I'll write down what my day was. I'll be like, actually, today was fucking excellent. Are you kidding me? That was amazing. Yeah. Or like, actually, today was not very, I feel really embarrassed about a lot of the things I did today. I'm not very proud of it. And so that's what I do. I journal in the evenings. I'll be like, just make sense of it and put it all to rest. Yeah. And be like, oh my God, I kicked off at someone today. Yeah. Well, someone kicked off at me and that was not okay with me. Like, I'm really angry about it. It's like, I don't have to do anything with that anger, but I have to acknowledge it's there. Otherwise, I won't be able to fall asleep. That's just me.
Yeah.
So yeah, those two things. Something in the morning that I believe in and then journaling in the evening.
Yeah, man. Because I vibe with that because, especially in terms of like, oh, today was an excellent day, but if I don't take the time to appreciate it, it will be gone. Yeah. It will be gone and I won't even realize it. And the same was with my week, with my year, and everything. That's why I had to do this, because every time someone at work was like, oh, what'd you do last week? I don't fucking know. Yeah. What'd you do on the weekend? I can't. It was good. I can't remember. So I need this wall of achievements that I made, whether that be every different area of life that I have, to remind myself of the stuff that I've done. Because, again, the theme I saw with myself and my friends is that we don't remember the achievements we had. We don't give credit for them. Yeah. And then we don't reflect on them either, right? Yeah. Is there any thoughts you have wrapping up the silver section and going into bronze, the last?
No, I think we're good. Let's roll on.
Yeah, man. So, this is it. While it's still an achievement in itself, these aren't actually the things that fulfill you as much as all these other things that we've got going on up here. Right. Right?
I mean, some of them are just small but important. Like, like putting a chair in my room to meditate is a very simple. I just got a chair from outside and I put it in my room and I put a cushion on it. Yeah. It's like a very simple thing. Yeah. But it's like, it just means like that's where I do my meditation. So really, like, that is a very important thing. I guess it's like, it could have happened a different way. Like, it's a very simple little thing. Yeah. I got a hug from my brother. I asked for a hug from my brother and I got one. It was really nice. Yeah. When I was quite upset. Like that, it was a really important thing, but they're not those big landmark things. Watching a couple TV shows that were really fun. Like I watched them with my brother and they were good. Yeah. And we got to connect. Like that's great. But it kind of seems like they are the kind of bedrock of a good life. Yeah. They're not so much, they're not so much like, oh my God, that huge revelation or that huge achievement. Like I helped with a breathwork and cold exposure workshop. That was great. I learned some stuff from that. Yeah. But going down and doing an acting workshop was way more, it has bigger resonance in my body. I did weighted dips for like 5 times 30 kilos. That was huge. But Michael had to remind me of it because I was like, okay, I can do weighted dips. That's really cool. But that's not, and it's great because it points me towards what actually is important. Exactly. Or what was important this year. That I really enjoy the seasonality thing that you're talking about. Like one of my favorite poets talks about the seasonality of life. Yeah. And how like at different times, different things will be important.
Totally, man.
So
I wanted to show you something on that. So over here, I made a diagram based on the special framework as well. And I was thinking about what balance looks like in life. You know, the fact of self-improvement is that you have to work on, work, money, fitness, habits, all those kind of things. And basically to do that, that means you have to ignore a whole bunch of this. And people will tell you that your life is unbalanced in that manner if you do that. But if you do the opposite, people are still going to tell you your life is unbalanced. And the more you look at it, you're like, fuck, for the last 3 months, for the last week, I've only been doing this. I've only been doing gaming. I've only been just relaxing. The thing is, what I found with balance is that it depends on our perception of time. Because I can have a week where I am just totally deflating, or I can have a week where I am only focusing on building life game design up, right?
Yeah.
And if I only look at those weeks, I will think my life is completely fucked and imbalanced. But as soon as I zoom out and take a broader time horizon, it sits on the bedrock of a whole 6 months.
Oh, that's really cool.
Right? And this could be years even. Years you spend focusing on either of these categories of life and the same thing. And the reason why it's actually more beneficial to do it in this way is an idea that I got from the book Essentialism by Greg McKeown. And basically he found that anytime someone tries to improve every area of life at once, they don't get anywhere. I think about it in terms of riding a bike, learning a new skill for the first time, and the fact that the effort it takes for you to learn that new skill, and in such a long time frame, that you have to ignore a lot of other things in your life to do that. Like riding a bike for the first time, you had to spend a lot of time falling down and all that thing. But as soon as you learned that, the baseline to where you have to maintain that skill is so high, right?
Yeah.
And I feel that for any skill we have or any field of life that we have. And so basically focusing on all areas of life at once will literally get you nowhere. You're spinning at your wheels. But if you understand, if you have a framework to understand the season of life that you're in and really see it as that, really see it as a way to understand, okay, I need to focus on this, regardless of what the latest podcast episode came about, telling me I need to ice bath, I need to do 100 push-ups in the morning, I need to invest in the stock market, whatever, right? Because these guys are giving advice to the people that they resonate with the most, that they are specifically looking to target, and you have no idea whether you fall into that category unless you look at your life in a way. You'll probably increase areas that aren't actually in line with the season of life that you're in. Yeah, I really stress that the special framework is a way to understand what fulfillment in life means to you and what focus, where your focus should be in life, without me saying, as someone who is in like male self-development would probably say like, okay, your morning routine is that you're going to go in the ice bath, then you're going to do breath work, then you're going to do da, 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 da. Like literally, that might not apply to someone who's in uni, who is going to have all of that time instead to study their material or to hang out with their friends and enjoy the experience of being in uni and stuff like that. Because I think that's one of the hardest parts. And I remember you mentioned that one of a big significant memory for you is having that reinsurance. Who was it with again?
Yeah, this guy Jack in Christchurch. He was amazing. I just met him. I was staying with him. And I was quite afraid to be down there in some ways because I hadn't been by myself in a while, like since I had that rock bottom experience. Yeah. And I was down there and I stayed with this guy Jack and I'd met him for the first time and I just kind of went, hey man, I haven't been doing that good for a little while and it's quite a big thing for me to be away from home. And I teared up a little bit and I said, so can I have a hug? And he gave me a big hug. He said, yep, give me a hug. And then he said, you're exactly where you need to be. And then he said, I'm going to bed. You just let me know if you need anything. And I was like, oh my, like, you know? Yeah. It's just when the people say the right it was just the right thing at the right time in the most wonderful way. And yeah, I think a lot about self-location and when for people that care are in a phase of their life where we're going like, what do I want to do and how can I contribute and where should I be? It can be pretty paralyzing. And I really like the ability, because I think self-location is always difficult. Joe Dispenza said a thing. He said, you can't see the label while you're inside the jar. Oh, it's cool, eh?
Yeah, I liked that.
It's cool, eh? That hit me real hard. Yeah. I was like, yeah, right. But you can see the label when you're in the next jar. So we're in here and then like looking at my year previous, I was like, oh, so attachment was really, really interesting. Oh, that was a year of attachment. Didn't feel like it at the time. You know, it felt like, oh, I was doing all this internal work. It's like, no, that was external. That was about other people and me trying to relate to them.
Yeah.
But I couldn't see that was really what was what was happening. And now it's like, you know, what is it now? And I just love to look at what's happening in my life. Like, I've got like 2 new job opportunities that are happening while I've got these 2 other jobs. And it's like, oh, well, that's interesting. I'm not going to try and go like, oh, it's a career focused year. But I'm like, okay, so there's a couple new job opportunities. Okay, that's interesting. You know, what's that gonna be? And people are asking me to commit to things later in the year. And it's like, okay, cool. What's that asking of me? And just being open to what the season might be. And just going like, okay, cool. Asking for help and talking to people about it, I think is the best way, because self-locating and being like, I'm exactly here on my journey. You don't want to do that. It's not fun. Yeah. You want to be inside the jar. Like, you want to be on the journey. Yeah. Going like, where am I going to get to? Because if you know where you're going to get to, it's going to be shit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly it.
And you can never know where you're going to get to. So it's never going to be shit. It's always going to surprise you. But if all the times that I've been like, this is where I am and this is where I'm going, I've been humbled, you know?
Got you, man. In terms of that, this is where you are, this is where you're going. I guess you have a really good view of this is where you were in 2023. How does this relate to how you want 2024 to look like? I had this thing where I pick focus areas in terms of special. So you've got all these areas that you could pour time into. But let's say if we were to only pick 3 max areas of life here that would completely align with what you want to do this year, what would that look like? And it's difficult.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. Maybe it's intelligence, LifeForce, and contribution. Because creativity is like, I'm a professional actor and theater maker, and creativity is really inherent in the things that I do. Yeah. Contribution has been, I've had these jobs and I've increased my capacity for work, and now I'm feeling much better and much happier. I'm ready to do contribution that is a bit of a risk, you know, is more towards what I really want to do. Yeah. Because it's like, okay, I've got the capacity now. Let's really go for it. Let's really get into acting. It's what I'm so inspired about at the moment. Yeah. So I really want to pour some stuff into that. I'm going to have to learn some things, and I'm going to have to get my finances sorted so that I can take opportunities. And the meditations that Joe Dispenza does, I'll just briefly touch on one. He has one called Blessing of the Energy Centers, where you bless 8 energy centers, and they look like the chakras. He doesn't use those words, but and he's done the science. There's like a neural network. There's little brain neurons or something like that in these parts of your body.
I think there's a diagram that shows the, I guess like the nerve ganglia that comes out in each of those areas.
Yeah.
I've seen a diagram.
It's a legitimate thing. It's not a spiritual like colors on your body. It's a physiological thing in your body. Yeah. And the meditation is just to like clear your mind, chill out, focus on one of these things, pour your attention into it, relax around it, and then move your way up. And I had some sinusitis, and I got into my kind of sternum and then my heart chakras, and my face started to kind of do a little thing. And then I got up a little bit higher, but when I was in my heart, my throat, and the base of my neck, this whole side of my face was pressurized, and the whole like musculature in my actual face squished up, and I could feel my sinuses healing themselves. And lots of people in Joe Dispenza's work have talked about that. Yeah. And doing that was like, okay, that's really cool. Yesterday, I'll share these videos at the end.
I've got it. Yeah, man. I've got to really look into this.
But when I smacked my face on the water, the whole side of my body was sore. And then I did the energy centers meditation, and that side of my body, which was fine now, I couldn't feel it anymore, just kind of started vibrating with all where I hit myself. It's like the body will heal itself through these meditations with the right kind of attention and understanding of what's happening to release into whatever's happening. The body will heal itself. People have healed themselves from crazy things. Like it will seem crazy to say people have healed blindness, deafness, and cancer, but it's all happened. Yeah. Someone grew a new thyroid. Yeah. Like that's my LifeForce thing, is like go into these meditations not in a like, oh, I meditate every day, but like, no, every day, this is not like a thing that I do outside of my day to set me up. This is like, this is it. If I do 3 meditations a day and really pour my attention into it, like I could really get somewhere. I don't think I'll get there quite soon. 3 meditations is a lot, but at least 1, definitely like 2 if I can. Like the change is not casual that happens there.
Yeah.
So that's, LifeForce, which is really doing Joe Dispenza stuff.
Yeah.
Intelligence, which is a financial thing because it's an actor, the money goes up and down.
Yeah.
And contribution is like really from that place of grounded confidence and compassion.
I see.
And from having some financial base, just going like, get me on a film set, get me on a stage. Like, I don't care. Get me up there. I'm gonna do it better than anyone you know. Like, you know, or the way that I want to do it is fucking good. And if you don't want it, someone else is gonna get it because I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to do.
Got you, man. Honestly, to wrap up, dude, I knew we were gonna have such a good conversation from the fact, like when I met you at the gym. I think what was it like? I was meditating.
That's right. That's right. I was like, bro, you meditating?
Yeah. You approached me, I think, in the locker room, and then I saw you had a whoop at the time.
Yeah, because you asked me like, whoop.
You had a whoop at the time, and then from there we just really connected. I remember there was a lot of times where we would get into like quite a deep conversation, like in between a set. We stopped training, and and we were both like, actually, we kind of need to train.
Yeah, we got to train.
And so we always had these like, I guess they're like very deep, like 5-minute conversations. Yeah. And then we both realized like, actually, we're both here to train. Man. So yeah, I've been waiting to do this so long for you, and it's even beyond what I thought it would be, and it shows me what an amazing person you are in all areas of life. Because I think the one thing I hate about a lot of podcasts with the intention to share who someone is that they only focus on their career and their material success.
Right.
And I really want to normalize and expand on people's achievements in all areas of life, because again, in men's self-development, that's all we look to. There's like money, status, looks, that whole thing, right? And if that's all you judge your achievements on, then that's all you will feel. And if you don't have those 3 things, you will feel like your life is fucked. But that's not it.
Great. I was talking to my friend Rich Hackney. He men's work. He's an amazing dude. He was a fighter. He's a cool guy. We were talking about how to market what he was doing, and I've done some videography stuff. And he said, we're trying to get like, what's the most important thing about this? Because you can get financial abundance and you can have great sex and you can have all the things. But we were like, what's the moment that is the key of like what Rich is trying to teach? And we're like, it's the moment when you wake up at 5 a.m. and you got to be on, if you're a trader, he's a trader. So you got to be on site like as early as. He wakes up at 5, he's got this beautiful wife next to him, he's got this beautiful family, and he's going to go jump in a cold shower. Yeah. And it's not being in the cold shower that's the moment. It's that moment of waking up and going like, and looking at the option to have this beautiful thing and being like, I'm going to do this for myself. It's like that little moment. And it's not, none of the big successes happen without that little moment. And that little moment's like, it doesn't matter how good you look or how famous you are or how much money you have. It's like, it's that like inner discipline to just be like, oh no, this is, remember, we're doing it for this reason. And that's the thing is like, when people go like, and the big people are like, you got to get in the ice bath every day. It's like, when's it hard? Like, talk about the moment that it's hard for you, and talk about like you had a fight with your girlfriend the night before and you've wake up and what you really want to do is stay in bed with her and you want to sort that out, but you're going to go and make yourself good first. And then you're going to come to it with compassion and planning. Like, I want to hear about that in podcasts. So I'm really glad you're doing it. And if you keep doing podcasts, to have people, with real success behind them, with real success,
material,
to have them go like, I love it when people on a podcast are like, oh yeah, I've got this great relationship, et cetera, et cetera. Do you have a fight? And they go, oh yeah, we fight all the time.
Yeah.
Is it hard? Yeah, it sucks, man. We didn't talk yesterday. And it's like, what? Like, oh my God. You hear, like, they paint their life in a way, and it's fun. It's not their doing, But when you ask the right question to someone, they go like, oh yeah, my relationship with my mom is not good right now. It's like, oh, what? Oh, that's so interesting. Or like Tom Holland talking about Hollywood. I just found this little short that with him was just like, fuck Hollywood, man. This is bad. I do not like it here. But I love movies. And I was like, whoa, and he was like all acne covered and shit and all sweaty in this interview. And I was like, that's
a real person.
That's a real person.
That's not a highlight reel.
That's a person with a job You know, he's really not on a pedestal there. So I'm really happy you're doing that. It's really cool to be on a podcast to start talking about things, because it just it makes me feel valued. It makes me feel like I have a bit more to offer. And doing the reflections with these frameworks and having you go like, I think there's a bit more. And it wasn't self-gratifying and wanky. It was really like, actually, yeah, I took care of a dog for a long time. That's a thing.
Yeah.
I'm getting a kitten tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a life achievement. And that's the things you remember later on. So I'm really impressed with this, man. Like the way that it highlights the actual important things without dismissing the material. Because there's lots of spirituality that's like, it's all about how you feel and how you're grounded in reality and like grounded in your body, you know?
Yeah.
It's that thing of holding both. It's like, that's Taoism. That's the yin and the yang. That's all like the light and the dark. Everyone talks about this stuff.
Yeah.
And then they pick a side. Don't pick a side. Hold both and have a conversation. That's what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
Hold both and have a conversation. You know, like everyone's got things in common, man. And it's this stuff that you go in. It's like, yeah, what do you feel about, you know, your attachment stuff? Everyone can talk about that and connect. So it's great, man. It's really great. And not overwhelming. That was my one worry about this, was the framework was going to be overwhelming.
Yes.
But it's not. And you have such nice graphics and visuals and stuff that make things cohesive. I'm really impressed, Michael. It's fucking awesome.
Dude, thank you so much. The only last tradition I guess I want to generate on the podcast is a hug.
Yeah, bro.
Thank you so much,
The
dude.
best way. Oh, dude. That's so
This
nice.
was awesome, man.